What if a fantasy book event felt less like a market and more like stepping into a story? Because that is exactly what I've been trying to build. Welcome to In Between the Realms, a place where fantasy, storytelling, creativity, and real life begins to blur together. I'm Elizabeth, and this podcast is basically a window into everything I'm building, imagining, testing, creating, and surviving along the way. From fantasy worlds, books, immersive events, and crafting, to the chaos of trying to bring impossible ideas into reality. So, wherever you are, welcome to the realms. All right. Well, before we go into the nitty gritty of, the main topic of this episode, we're going to do some housekeeping. And I have some cool fantasy book news. The fantasy news this week had me doing a double take. I was scrolling online and saw what looked like an ACOTAR Monopoly game. I was like, bro, let me see, what is this? And my first thought was, no, there's no way that's real. So I went digging, and apparently it is. Not only is Hasbro releasing a Monopoly A Court of Thorn and Roses edition, but they also have a Fourth Wing edition coming out this year. I don't know about this, but fantasy readers are getting spoiled lately, We've gone from special editions and sprayed edges, which is totally cool, and I'm actually learning how to do, to a full-on fantasy Monopoly boards. The real question is, if you could pick up any fantasy series to get a Monopoly game next, what would it be? The Rich Kingdom, maybe? Or A Court This Cruel and Lovely? Who knows? All of those are my favorites. Maybe the Lady of Darkness is another one. I don't know. I have a lot in my mind, and it's so hard to pick. But I'll start with those. So go, go, Hasbro, and I'm so excited about them. As soon as they're available, I'm gonna get myself a Corn of Thorn and Roses edition, and also a Fourth Wing. Why not? So now that we have that little book news out of the way, I actually have a fantasy question of the week. And that got me thinking a lot about this question. What actually makes a book fantasy? Most people immediately think of dragons, magics, elves, magical powers, or, epic battles. And yes, those things are definitely part of the fantasy, but are they required? The more I thought about it, the more I realized fantasy is so much bigger than that. Fantasy includes epic fantasy, high fantasy, dark fantasy, fantasy romance, cozy fantasy, historical fantasy, urban fantasy, portal fantasy, fairy tale retelling, mythology inspired fantasy, sword and sorcery, progression fantasy, and lastly, political fantasy. Some of those stories are packed with magic. Some have dragons, some have gods, and some have magical schools. And of course, some have none of those things. Take the Breach Kingdom, for example. There are no dragons in there, no magical powers, no wizard casting spells, yet most readers still consider it fantasy. And I got myself thinking, why? Well, because fantasy is not always about magic. Sometimes it's about stepping into a world that couldn't exist in our reality. A world with its own kingdom, cultures, history, politics, conflicts, and rules. That's why books like A Corner of Thorn Roses, Fourth Wing, The Rich Kingdom, The Lord of the Rings, The Dresden Files, Legends and Lates, and even Dungeons and Dragons all feel like they belong in the same conversation. They're all very different, but they have one thing in common. They transport us somewhere else. And to tell you the truth, that's the vision I'm actually trying to build with ink and realms. Not just books with dragons, not just books with magics, but stories that spark wonder, imagination, adventure, and the feeling that you've stepped into another world. So here's the test I came up with. Ask yourself this, and I'll ask myself this too. Does this story contain wonder, imagination, mythology, fantasy elements, fictional worlds, speculative elements, or an immersive storytelling experience? If the answer is yes, then I think it probably belongs at the Inca realms or at the fantasy world that we all love to read. The audience actually overlaps. The people buying a dragon bookmark might love an epic fantasy, while the person buying a potion bottle might read romanticy. And maybe the person attending an author panel might be obsessed with political fantasy like the British Kingdom. Different books, different subgenres, same love of immersive storytelling. And speaking of British Kingdom, if you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite fantasy series, and somehow it managed to completely consume my life for a whole while. And and it actually sent me to the hospital. If you don't know this story, I'm gonna tell you real quick. I was listening to one of the books there, and because I'm an audiobook girly, and actually listening to the book, and it was I love the narrator that was actually part of that book. But I actually was listening to one of the twist and battles and victories they had, and I was like jumping around on the kitchen like a crazy person. And all of a sudden I felt like my life was ending before my eyes because I literally like twisted my calf, my muscle, and to the point that I couldn't walk. I literally had to go to the hospital, get some x-rays done, and the story will always stay in my life as the book that sent me to the hospital. So yeah, it was a very funny story, even though it was very painful. I literally laughed through the pain. But I will never forget why that book sent me to the hospital and why I love it so much. So if you haven't really read it, I highly recommend it. Just make sure you're sitting down and not jumping around. Don't want that book to send you to the hospital either. That is proof that a fantasy story doesn't need magic to transport you somewhere else. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think a fantasy book needs magic to be considered fantasy? Or is fantasy really about the world, the wonder, and the experience it creates for the reader? Let me know what you think. I really would like to know. Now, uh, what is next? Next is the reading updates and TBR, of course. Currently, I'm actually re-listening to The Kingdom of Time by Luz Evan Kanin. That's actually one of the authors who will be joining us at the Ink and Realms. I originally listened to the audiobook a while back and absolutely loved it. But I've learned something about myself as a reader. When life gets busy, I sometimes miss very important details in the book, especially in fantasy books where there are so many moving pieces. So I decided to go back and experience the story again, and I'm really glad I did. Now that I know how everything connects, I'm catching details, foreshadowing, and characters moments that completely went over my head the first time. It's one of those books that hits you differently on a second read because you understand the bigger picture. The twists land differently, the characters' choices make more sense, and you start seeing all the little clues hidden throughout the story. I'm also excited because I recently reached out to Luz and she's actually interested in joining us on the In Between Realms podcast. We're currently working on the scheduling date, and by the time she comes out on the show, I've gone through the story twice, which means I'll be able to ask much better questions and dive deeper into the world she created. And as soon as we have a recording date confirmed, I'll be sure to let everyone know because I'm really looking forward to that conversation. As for my TBR, let's just say it's currently in a state of complete chaos. My TBR is stacked, scattered, overflowing, and to tell you the truth, I don't even know where half of it is right now. Between preparing for events, working on the podcast, writing, and trying to keep up with my life, my reading plans have become more of a suggestion than an actual schedule. So for now, Kingdom of Time is at the top of my list, and once I get my TBR under control, I'll share what books are coming up next, or at least I'll try. No promises. Now for our Ink and Realms update. Oh my god, I'm super excited. We're officially about 90 days away from the very first Ink and Realms Fantasy Market. And I'm super excited, guys. I'm super excited because a lot has been happening behind the scenes. Between vendor events, creating products, promoting the event, coordinating vendors, designing graphics, and preparing all the little details that most people never seen, it has been busy in the best possible way. One thing I'm especially excited about is our current VIP ticket giveaway. Right now, we're giving away one VIP ticket every month leading up to the event. To enter, simply follow, like, and comment on the giveaway post. Every person you tag counts as an additional entry. So if you know someone who loves fantasy books, fantasy worlds, dragon authors, or immersive experience, be sure to tag them. The current giveaway closes on June 29th at 11:59 p.m. Then on June 30th, I'll be doing a live drawing and announcing our first VIP winner. This live drawing will be in Facebook. We'll also be doing another VIP giveaway in the end of July and another at the end of August. Now, let's talk about what VIP actually includes. VIP travelers will receive early access to the event beginning at 11 a.m., giving them 30 minutes to explore before general admission opens at 11:30. VIP guests will also receive VIP swag bag filled with special goodies, a VIP badge, an event keepsake, and reserved seating for the authors panel or, court sessions, as I would love to call them. That means no worries about finding a seat. Your place will be waiting for you. And for those wondering, yes, general admission is completely free in this Inca Realms event. If you'd rather secure your VIP spot instead of entering the giveaway, VIP tickets are available now. Just keep in mind that quantities are limited and once they're gone, they're gone. As for the event itself, we're counting to build an immersive experience filled with authors, fantasy-inspired vendors, food trucks, giveaway activities, and quests throughout the day. We're also working on vendor spotlights, so over the next few weeks, you'll begin meeting the amazing authors, artists, creators, and vendors who will be joining us. We'll have a costume contest, giveaways after every author panel or author court session, and opportunities for travelers to earn rewards by participating in different activities throughout the event. This first Ink and Realms is our opening chapter, and I cannot wait to share it with all of you. If you'd like to learn more, reserve your free ticket or grab a VIP pass. You'll find the link in the show notes. And now it's time for our Indie Author Spotlight. This week's spotlight goes to one of our own very own Ink and Realms author, Luz Evan Kanin. As I mentioned in my reading update, I'm currently listening to her book, Kingdom of Time, and I have to say, it's one of those stories that keeps revealing new details the deeper you go. The question at the heart of the story is, what if time itself was trying to erase your story? When immortal protectors turn on one another and war threatens the realm of Jidana, two heroines separated by centuries must uncover truths buried by time itself. As kingdoms rise and fall, their destinies collide in an epic fantasy filled with destiny trials, ancient secrets, and a world that refuses to die. If you enjoy fierce female main characters, battle academies, deadly trials, epic quests, slow burn romance, dual timelines, and multiple points of view, this might be a book worth checking out. The story follows Nora Evasar and Saveline Prin as they navigate a world on the brink of collapse. Heroes rise, kingdoms fall, and time itself becomes one of the greatest enemies they must face. What I love about this book is the scope of it. It feels epic, layered, and ambitious, while still keeping the focus on the characters and the choices they make. And the best part? You'll have the opportunity to meet Luz Evan Kanin in person at Ink and Realm on September 19. I'm super excited. As the time gets close, oh my god, I'm super, super happy about that. So if Kingdom of Time sounds like your kind of read, be sure to check it out. And if you're attending the Ink and Realms Fantasy Market, you'll get a chance to meet the author herself. That's the week's Indie Author Spotlight. And now it's time for our author's tip of the week. This week, I wanted to share a piece of advice that actually came from an author I recently met at a vendor event this Saturday that just came out. His name is Hal, and he wrote a historical fiction novel based on a real mystery he uncovered he said that he discovered the truth about it and he turned it into a novel. I haven't finished the book yet, but after reading the first few pages and talking with him, one thing he said really stuck with me. He said that one of the biggest mistakes aspiring authors make is trying to write a perfect first draft. Instead, he encourages writers to write ugly, 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 ugly. Just write it. Get the story out of your head and onto the page. He used an analogy that I really liked. He compared writing to a sandbox. Before you can shape the sand into castles, roads, towers, and sculptures, you first have to get the sand into the box. You can't edit a blank page. You can't improve a chapter that doesn't exist. You can't fix a story that hasn't been written. The first draft isn't supposed to be beautiful. The first draft is supposed to exist. Once the story is on the page, then you go back and straighten the characters, tighten the plot, improve the dialogue, fix the pacing, and make the story the best version of itself. And as someone currently writing a novel, I needed that reminder. Sometimes we spend so much time trying to make every sentence perfect that we never finish the chapter. Sometimes the best thing you can do is simply keep writing. So if you're working on a book right now, this is your reminder. Write the messy draft. Write the imperfect chapter. Write the scene that isn't quite working yet because you can always edit words that exist. You can't edit words that never get written. And that is our tip of the week. So, and for now, going to my writing updates, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I haven't made nearly as much progress on my novel this week as I wanted to. Between preparing for vendor events, working on the podcast, building ink and realms, creating products, and trying to keep up with everything else, writing has taken a bit of a back seat. And if you're a writer listening to this, you probably know exactly how that feels. The story is still living in my head. The characters are still talking, arguing, and, making all the crazy plot and evolution in my brain. But sometimes life gets busy and the worlds don't make it into the page as quickly as, we like. For those who are new here, my current work in progress follows a woman whose memories have been stolen from her. She's living a life built on lies, surrounded by people she thinks she knows, while the truth about her past remains hidden behind a careful, maintained illusion. At its heart, it is a story of identity, betrayal, healing family, and discovering your own worth after everything you believe turns out to be a lie. And while I haven't added a mountain of new words this week, I've spent a lot of time thinking about the story, the characters, and where I want the journey to go next. Sometimes writing happens on the page, sometimes it happens on the background while we're living life. My goal for this coming week is simply get back into the story, even if it's only a few paragraphs at a time. Hey, progress is progress. Now we go into our main topic of this, episode. So the question is, what if fantasy event felt less like a market and more like stepping into a story? Like I said, that is exactly what I've been trying to build. If you've been following me on social media, you know that a couple weeks have been absolutely chaotic, but in the best way possible. This past week, I attended my first vendor event as a vendor with my new branding atelier of Untold Story shop, which is the shop of Ink and Realms. And Ink and Realms is the fantasy market. And as you know, In Between Realms is part of the Ink and Realms world. So it's a three-part thing in one big love bubble. And let me tell you, I was I was not prepared. I saw the opportunity and thought, you know what, let's do it. So I signed up, and then reality hit me right in the face because I had no products. I literally had none. I had about 6 days to create inventory, package items, design, displayed, and figured out what I was actually bringing to the event. I literally was running on very little sleep. For 2 days in a row, I literally didn't sleep at all. So I literally like did a whole night. And since my craft room is like really enclosed and there's no windows, I couldn't see, it was dark or light. I was just stuck there designing, writing, you know, um, engraving and everything that I was doing, trying to create the most products ever. I had like a bunch of ideas, and I ended up just focusing on four products at the end because it was a lot. Once you create products, it takes you a lot of time. So I literally went to sleep. I literally was awake for 24 hours, went to sleep for a couple hours, woke up, and did it all over again to another night. And yeah, there were very, very long nights. I was just hoping everything come, together in time, and honestly, it was a little crazy. But I was also one of the most rewarding experience I had in a long time. It was definitely a different experience than I had when because I had done vending. I did vendor. I was a vendor like a couple of years ago and did two of them, and I literally swore, said I'm never gonna do vendors again. But because I was like literally trying to sublimate, custom create things at the spot, and that doesn't work. Literally didn't work for me. I literally did not sell anything. Maybe like one item on each date. It was not a good thing because I literally had like two people with the cars, driving with me, because it was a lot of stuff that was taken, and I was like, I don't want to do the same thing that I did that. So as I rebranded my identity and my whole shop and everything in between, I decided just to create products and bring in ready to sell. And whoa, what a difference. Loved it. I generally loved it. And right now, I'm actually gonna start preparing for next weekend, which is gonna be a Father's Day weekend. And I'm gonna be selling at the event. And I'm gonna create special products for Father's Day, for our Father's Day, who are in love with those girlies who love books. So if you are in going to the event called the Porch in Pins Vendor Market, which is going to be June 20 from 3 to 7 at Deacon's Baldies. I've never been there, so this is going to be my first vendor event that day. So if you are happen to be going there, I'll be there in one of my booths, my vendor booths, and it's gonna be Atelier Avanto Stories. So if you are there, I'll see you there. But it was also one of the most rewarding experience I've had in a long, long time, and I really enjoyed it. I want to give thanks. I give a huge thank you to Hat Trick Collective for allowing me part of that event, and actually, they're the ones that allowed me part of the Porch and Pins event. I met amazing vendors, connected with readers, had incredible conversation, and learned so much. Most importantly, the experience reminded me exactly why I'm building Inky Realms. And that brings me to the question I've been getting more and more often. So they've been asking, what is Inky Realms? What is it? Well, the truth is, it's more than a vendor market. It's more than a book event. It's more than an author signing. Inca Realms is an immersive fantasy experience designed for readers, writers, creators, vendors, and fantasy lovers. The idea started with a simple thought. I wanted a place where fantasy authors could be celebrated, a place where fantasy inspired vendors showcase their work, a place where readers could walk in and feel like they had stepped into a story rather than just another event. For a long time, I kept overthinking it. I kept wanting to, for the perfect time. Eventually, I realized something. If I waited until everything was perfect, I might never start. So, like always, I love to jump into things. So I decided to, start and build Ink and Realms. And to my surprise, authors and vendors responded almost immediately. Like they saw the same vision I was trying to convey, and the available spots filled much faster than I expected. That's when I realized that maybe this vision wasn't just mine anymore. Maybe there were other people looking for the kind of experience too. Now we're getting closer and closer to September 19, and it's starting to feel real. So let me take you a little journey and show you the kind of experience we're creating. Imagine arriving at the menu. Outside, you'll find, two food trucks ready to welcome hungry adventurers or travelers. As you walk through the doors, your journey begins. You'll be welcomed into the realm and invited to become part of the experience. Every guest will receive a password that becomes part of the adventure throughout the day. As you explore, you'll discover fantasy inspired vendors, meet authors, find new books, and connect with creators who have spent years building worlds and bringing stories to life. You'll have the opportunity to participate in activities, earn stamps, complete quests, and unlock rewards. We'll have authors panels where readers can hear directly from authors about their worlds, characters, inspirations, and writing journeys. We'll have giveaways throughout the days. We'll have a costume contest for those who want to fully embrace the fantasy spirits. And we'll have opportunities for attendees to help celebrate the creative and imagination that makes the community so special. Now, you don't have to be there all day. You're welcome to come at whatever time you wish and start the journey and the quest whenever you wish to start. But it is a great experience and an immersive experience that I want to convey. And it is, not a requirement to be all day, but it is something that is going to be magical and amazing. One of the biggest goals with Income Realms is to actually spotlight the incredible people behind the creations. So the authors who spend years building worlds, the artists who bring imagination to life, the vendors who create products inspired by the stories we love. I want this to be a place where they can shine. The first event is intentionally small. It is our opening chapter. Our first chapter of every book is intentionally small. And that is what I'm trying to do with Incan Realms. I want the first Incan Realms to feel personal, welcoming, and community focused. But I also have a big dream for the future. My hope is that every event becomes another chapter in the story of Incan Realms. A little bigger, a little bit more immersive, a little bit more magical. If this first chapter is successful, which I'm hoping it is, we'll continue growing while keeping the sense of wonder that inspired it in the first place. Whether you stay for an hour or spend the entire day with us, I hope you come experience it yourself. Tickets are currently available, and I'd love to see you there on September 19th. Thank you for joining me today and for supporting this journey. Building Inca Realms has been one of the most exciting, challenging, and rewarding things I've ever done. And I'm incredibly grateful to have all of you along for the adventure. And before we go, it's time for our final thoughts. Since Father's Day is right around the corner, I thought I'll leave you with a fun animal parenting fact. Did you know that male emperor penguins are some of the most dedicated dads in the animal kingdom? After the mothers lay the eggs, she heads off to find food while dad takes over baby duty. For about 2 months, the father carefully balances the eggs on his feet and protects it from the freezing Antarctic temperature. During that time, he doesn't go hunting, he doesn't take a break, he doesn't call for backup. He just stands there in the snow trying to not drop the baby. So if you're a dad listening to this and you're feeling exhausted, just remember that somewhere out there, an emperor penguin dad is standing on a block of ice, holding an egg for 2 straight months. Suddenly, helping with homework doesn't sound quite so bad, huh? To all the fathers, grandfathers, stepfathers, father figures, and dads who show up every day for the people they love, happy Father's Day. Thank you for everything you do. And with that, I'll see you next time and hopefully at Incan Realms. Thank you for joining me for another episode of In Between Realms. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the podcast and share with another reader, writer, or dreamer who loves getting lost in stories. It truly helps me more than you know. You can find the links to everything we discussed today in the show notes, including Incan Realms, feature authors, books, and upcoming adventures. Until next time, keep reading, keep dreaming, keep creating, and remember, every great adventure begins in between realms.